Hello everyone, Michael here. Today is May 6th, 2022, and this is your weekly update. So first off, I just want to mention that last Friday, my latest book, which is called Pray No More, did release on Amazon in ebook and paperback. So thank you to everybody who pre-ordered. Thank you for everybody who has purchased a copy since the release. All the feedback that I've gotten has been mostly positive. You guys seem to really like the book. There were several twists and turns in there, and I always keep kind of teasing and saying, I promise you, you won't guess the ending. And for the majority of you, that looks like that was true. But moving on to what I am currently working on, I'm still working on my next novel, which still has no title, and I'm still not really ready to give you guys too much information about. I'm kind of keeping it a secret, both because I want the story to be a surprise, and I'm also still really considering doing something a little different with this one in terms of how I publish it. But again, more on that to come later. But just to kind of give you something, I've said this before, it is not going to be part of either of my existing series, not my Lance Brody series, not my Shiffy PI series. It is going to be a standalone novel that is back more into the horror and supernatural suspense genre, which I love. I've got about 17,000 words written on that right now, so coming along pretty nicely. And this book, from the way I have it mapped out in my head, I kind of have it broken into 4 or 5 different sections, and I've gotten into the second section, I guess you could say. I'm well into the second section, so we'll probably be finishing that up in the next few days and then moving on to part 3. Jumping over to what I am reading, I just started reading a book called Bone White by Ronald Malfi, and this is a author actually that I have seen pop up several times in the horror circles. I've seen people talk really highly about his writing. I've never actually read any of his books before though, so I grabbed this one. It was available in Kindle Unlimited, and it's about some sort of haunted woods something going on in a very desolate and remote Alaska town, which is right up my alley. I love that kind of stuff. I'm only about 25% into it. I haven't had a ton of time to read over the last week or so, maybe just a chapter or two before I go to bed, but I have been really enjoying it, and I definitely am anxious to see where it goes from here. If you've read any Ronald Malfi books, please jump down to the comments and let me know what your favorites are, because I would definitely like to check them out. Now this week I actually was able to squeeze in a lot of television and also one movie, a 3-hour movie at that. I was able to binge watch the second half of the last season of Ozark. That came out I think last Friday, and I had it all finished by like midday Sunday. Phenomenal show. I love the writing. I love the pacing and the patience of Ozark. I really think that they nailed pacing better than a lot of shows do these days. There was never a dull moment. And in terms of the ending, I'm clearly not going to spoil anything for you guys, but it is definitely going to be, I think, a bit of a divisive ending. It's not necessarily, I think, the ending that a lot of folks were hoping for, but if you really step back and examine the series as a whole and the themes that it explored, it's probably the ending we deserved. My wife and I also started watching Better Call Saul. That's a show that I've been meaning to watch for a long time. I absolutely loved Breaking Bad, as did a lot of people. I think it's one of the greatest television shows in history. And for some reason, when Better Call Saul came out, I just never jumped on board or took the time to watch it. But after learning that the most recent season was going to be the final season, I figured it was probably time to jump in and take a look at it. And I gotta say, I think I'm 3 or 4 episodes in, but from the very moment you start watching that show, you are instantly drawn back into Vince Gilligan's world and his style and the way he tells a story and the way they shoot those shows. You feel like you're right back in the Breaking Bad world. And I am just loving every second of it, and I can't wait to see what happens. Jumping over to that 3-hour film I mentioned that I watched, I was finally able to sit down and stream the new Batman movie, which is just called The Batman. It's on HBO now. It's starring Robert Pattinson. I believe it was written and directed by Matt Reeves. And I know this is probably going to be a wild take, but I think it's my favorite Batman movies of any that have been made. Don't get me wrong, I love the Christopher Nolan trilogy, particularly The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Not the biggest fan of Batman Begins, but something about this one just really resonated with my personal taste. I love the aesthetic. I love how it was almost more of a detective movie than a superhero movie. I thought it was a really, really fun and gritty portrayal of Gotham. I loved the young Bruce Wayne, where he was more of a recluse. Everything about this thing just really worked for my own personal taste. Anyway, guys, that is it for this week's update. As always, links to all my books and other information will be down in the description. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you guys next week.